I am going to say something that sounds insane, and I need you to stay with me until the end. Losing my job saved my life. Not metaphorically. Not as a motivational phrase. I mean it in the most literal, specific way possible. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what I mean. From the outside, my life looked exactly like it was supposed to. Good job, decent salary, an apartment I was proud of, a routine that felt like stability. I showed up every day. I performed well. I got the good reviews. I was, by every professional measure, succeeding. But something nobody could see from the outside, I was exhausted in a way that sleep couldn't fix. I had been running so hard for so long that I had completely lost track of what I was running toward. I told myself everyone felt this way, that this was just what being an adult looked like. I believed that right up until the day it all stopped. The call came on a Friday afternoon. My manager asked if I had a few minutes. I said yes. I was sitting at my desk eating lunch. By the time I put the phone down, I no longer had a job. Restructuring. Budget cuts. Nothing personal? The words blurred together into a single meaning: you are no longer needed here. I finished my lunch. I don't know why. I just sat there and finished my lunch. And then I closed my laptop, walked to my bedroom, ate down on the floor, not the bed, the floor, and stared at the ceiling for a very long time. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. Not because of the money, though, that was terrifying, but because of the silence. The silence where purpose used to be. I had structured my entire existence around that job. My schedule. My social life. My sense of value. My reason to get up. And without it, I had nothing to fill the space. I stopped taking care of myself. Stopped reaching out to people. Stopped believing that anything I did actually mattered. There was one night late, alone, bills on the table, where I genuinely thought, maybe I'm just not built for this world. That thought scared me. But it also woke me up. Then something shifted. One conversation changed everything. It wasn't a therapist. It wasn't a mentor. It was an old friend I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. They called out of nowhere, said they had been thinking about me. I don't know why I answered. I almost didn't. We talked for 3 hours. At some point, they asked me a question nobody had ever asked me before. When was the last time you felt truly alive? I couldn't answer. I sat with that question in silence for so long that my friend thought the call had dropped. But I was just thinking. Because somewhere in the back of my mind, buried under years of routine and responsibility and performing the role of someone who had it together, there was an answer. That conversation showed me that I hadn't been living. I had been managing. And those are not the same thing. What came next was not easy. I want to be honest about that. I didn't wake up the next morning with clarity and a business plan. I woke up the next morning still unemployed, still scared, and still unsure of everything. But something had shifted inside me that couldn't unshift. I started small, embarrassingly small. I made a list of every moment in my life where I had felt genuinely engaged, not just productive, but alive, present, like time had stopped mattering. Most of those moments had nothing to do with my career. I started following those moments. Tentatively, awkwardly, like learning to walk after being still for too long. I started creating things. Sharing things. Saying out loud the thoughts I had been keeping quiet for years. Some days it felt pointless. Most days it felt uncertain. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like mine. The financial pressure was real. I took on work I was overqualified for just to keep the lights on. I swallowed my pride more times than I can count. But I kept going. Because for the first time I knew what I was going toward. The breakthrough came the day I realized I was no longer waiting to get my old life back. I was building a new one. And the new one, uncertain and unfinished as it was, felt more like me than anything I had lived before. I am not going to stand here and tell you losing my job was easy. It wasn't. It was one of the hardest things I have ever been through. But I will tell you this: the person I was before that Friday phone call was disappearing. Slowly, quietly. In a way that nobody around me could see because I was too busy performing wellness to actually experience it. The job loss didn't cause that disappearance. It interrupted it. It forced me off the path I was sleepwalking down and made me stand still long enough to choose a different one. I have less certainty now than I did then. Less security. Less predictability. But I have something I hadn't had in years. I have myself. And it turns out that was the thing I had been missing all along. So here is what losing my job taught me, and what I hope you take from this video. Loss is not always destruction. Sometimes it is redirection. The thing that feels like it is ending your life may be ending the version of your life that was slowly killing you. Those are very different things even when they feel identical. The silence after loss is not emptiness. It is space. Space you have never had before. Space to hear yourself think. Space to ask the questions you have been too busy to ask. Don't rush to fill it. Sit in it long enough to hear what it's telling you. The conversation that changes everything is closer than you think. It might be with an old friend, a journal, a stranger on the internet, or a version of yourself you haven't spoken to in years. Be open to it. It will find you if you let it. You are not behind. You are between. Between who you were and who you are becoming. That space feels like failure from the inside. From the outside, from the future, it looks like the beginning. Losing my job saved my life. I hope whatever you're losing right now saves yours too. If this video meant something to you, please share it. You never know who needs to hear this today. Subscribe for more honest conversations like this one. And drop a comment below. Has loss ever led you somewhere better? I'd love to hear your story. I'll see you in the next one.